Sure. Okay, so I guess we'll enter not guilty. And then what do I need to do?
So you need to send a waiver of appearance to the litigation manager in this case. So I can tell the judge that the client, and I can tell the officers and the judge here that your client is waiving his appearance. So the litigation manager's name should be on the calendar. Do you have the calendar?
I don't have a calendar now.
I'll tell you who it is. Do you have
Okay.
the appearance form?
I'm sorry.
Do you have the waiver of appearance form?
I used to have it. I don't know if I have one right in front of me now.
Okay. I wonder, do you want me to file it for you instead? I could just file.
Okay, that'll be fine. I'm sorry, I didn't get prepared, I guess. I didn't know what was going on.
It's okay. Not a problem. It's, these hearings are hectic. So I'll send
I mean,
the,
I used to file them for SEA. It's the same kind of waiver.
yeah, it's a similar kind of waiver, but there's like a waiver of appearance and not guilty language in there.
Okay,
If
well, if you could do it, that'd be great, and then I can get a copy of it and be ready to do it
yeah,
if I ever appear at SAP again.
I can do it for you. I'll send you a copy for the future, and I'll send one to the case manager now for your client.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, how are you?
Good. There's no reason for you to hang out unless you want to. I mean, we can just make the announcement for you and
Yeah, he's Alex going to do that, and I don't even have the waiver, so he's going to do the waiver as well.
yeah, we can take care of it. So you don't even really need to stick around unless you want to.
I'd like to see a little bit. I mean, I've viewed it from the back a little bit, so maybe, well,
No
maybe I don't
worries.
know. Maybe I ought to go and do some other work.
Whatever you think. Either way.
Okay,
All right,
you
bud.
at home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice view.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I think unless I don't need to be here, I guess I'll just kick out then.
All right.
If they
Have a good
talk.
day, Keith. No worries.
Mhm.
Mr. White, do you have Mr. Watson from Cobb County?
Yes, I do.
Here, you can speak to him?
Sorry,
Do you need to speak with him?
I do. If you, have you got my number? You can just call me, or I can just call the
Call,
jail.
call the courtroom. I don't have your number on the hand.
Perfect.
Go to that phone over there, Watson.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our state all-purpose calendar. Okay, and do we have our defense counsel, Mr. White, and is there someone in courtroom two as well?
They're doing interviews at this moment, Judge.
They have no what?
Y'all conducting interviews at this moment.
No defense counsel in the courtroom.
Yes, but they're doing interviews.
Oh, they're still doing interviews. Okay. Who do we have in front of the Zoom camera right now?
Position number 6, Mr. Chambers.
Calvin Barber?
Mr. Chambers.
Chambers?
Position number 6. Donald
Six, sorry. Okay. And who represents Mr. Chambers? Mr. White? Attorney Tom White? All right. Okay, let me begin my announcements, but hopefully Mr. White will appear on Zoom soon. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal. This is going to be the state all-purpose calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. These are a list of misdemeanor cases which have already been formally accused by the prosecutor, who's the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Today, we are going to address the status of the cases. It is essentially a plea and arraignment calendar. Defendants and their counsel have already conferred considered offers from the prosecution. So the defendants would either want to take a plea and will have a plea hearing with regards to the charges brought against them, or they can enter a plea of not guilty and the cases will be arraigned and further notice for trial. Other matters that we may possibly address are bond modifications as well as any kind of bench warrants. If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Presently, we are addressing Donald Jamali Chambers, position 6 on our SAP calendar, case number 25 CR 001158F. Mr. Chambers is accused of the following misdemeanor offenses arising from a traffic incident: operating without lights as required by law, driving while license suspended or revoked, possession of an open alcohol container, and misdemeanor obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Mr. Chambers, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. White. This is going to be a plea, Mr. White?
It is, Judge.
All right, please raise your right hand, Mr. Chambers. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Yes, no? You need to speak up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, you'll need to speak up because we have a court reporter on the Zoom and she'll need to be able to hear what you are saying, okay?
Okay.
Just one moment. Good morning. May I help you?
She's held on a bench warrant and
All right, is she on my calendar?
yes.
All right, let me take this plea and then Ms. Champion will look it up. Thank you. If you'd like to approach and give her the case number. Thank you. All right, Ms. Falk, what is the recommendation for Mr. Chambers?
State's recommendation on count one is 12 months 12 months probation with a $265 fine. Count two, the suspended license, 12 months served 32 days, credit for time served 16 days from March 5th, 2025 to today, balance probated, a $500 fine, ADET. Count three, 12 months probation, a $265 fine, that's for the open container. And count four, 12 months served 32 days, credit for time served 16 days from March 5th, 2025 to today, balance probated, and a $300 fine, that's for the obstruction of an officer. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
So that would be a total of 800 and my math may be totally $830 in fines?
Actually, it's more than.
Oh, yeah, I told you my math is off. No, it's 800 plus 530. So that's
13.
over 1,300. Okay.
1330 to be exact.
All right, completely skipped out on $500. Okay. All right, and Mr. White, does your client accept these terms and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
He does, Your Honor. We just ask that the probation go to non-reporting once he pays all of his fines. And,
Oh, that will be denied. He's got pending DUI cases in 2 different courts.
because but he's not been found guilty of those cases.
That's
Judge.
true, but I'm concerned, so I'm going to require him to report and be subject to random screens for alcohol and drugs as well. Would your
I'm-
client like to accept that, or would he
I-
like to?
I speak with him, Judge,
Okay,
because it changed the.
no problem. Can you call into courtroom 2 or courtroom 2? Can
I
Mr.
can
White?
call-
Okay. All right, while we are waiting for Mr. Chambers to speak with his attorney, can I address another case?
We can go to number 37, Mr. Ori. What you're defining.
Was that Troy Ori?
Well,
Yeah, all right. This is State versus Troy Ori, accused of criminal trespass, case 25 CR 1179H. Mr. Ori, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Chate, who is seated next to you. And Mr. Chate, on this particular case, this is going to be a plea, yes?
yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ori, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation is 12 months served 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. That's from March 6, 2025 until today. Balance suspended. Stay away from Wesley on the Belt Apartments. That is located at 370 North Side Drive, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of this plea. That's all for the state.
So stipulated.
All right. Mr. Ori, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ori, has it been explained to you that if you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial? You would not be able to go back to a courtroom, confront your accuser, challenge the evidence that's brought against you, and have the prosecutor prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass at the Wesley on the Belt apartment complex?
Guilty.
All right, your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 30 days. Credit for time served 15 days. You've already completed your jail time. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, you'll be released within 24 hours. But you are on notice that you are to stay away from the entire apartment complex at that location. If you return to that particular location at 370 Northside Drive in Northwest Atlanta, you will be arrested again, and we get to do this all over again. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
We can go back to position number 6, Mr. Chambers.
All right.
Judge Shelley, still wants to go forward with the plea.
All right. Mr. Chambers, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Speak up clearly. I need the court reporter to be able to hear you.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And have you understood what's going on with your case?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter this guilty plea to these 4 charges, you will have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to be able to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, present your own arguments and defenses, and also and the prosecutor won't have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of operating without the proper lights, driving while license suspended or revoked, driving with a open alcohol container, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer?
Guilty.
For count 1, your sentence is going to be 12 months probation to serve and to pay a $265 fine. For count 2 is going to be 12 months probation to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance probated to pay a $500 fine and undergo a alcohol and drug evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment that's required. For count 3, it's going to be 12 months to probation to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days. While on probation, you pay an additional $300 fine. Oh, that was for count 4, excuse me. Did I miss one? Count 1 was $265 fine. Count 2 was $500. That was the one I missed. $500 fine plus the alcohol and drug evaluation. Count 3 was the $265 fine, and count 4 was the $300 fine. In total, you have a fine of $1,330 to pay, plus court costs and your probation fees. You will report to probation on Monday, and that would be March 24th, before 3 p.m. Mr. White, does he have any other holds?
Not that I'm aware of, Judge.
Okay, so don't forget to report to Fulton County Probation on Monday, March 24th, before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will undergo your alcohol and drug evaluation within 15 days of being released. So you have to do it in your first month of probation. You will pay your fine of $1,330 at a rate of $100 per month, minimum $100 per month to probation plus your probation fees. You are not to consume any alcoholic beverages and no illegal drugs while you're on probation. You shall report to probation every month. Also, you are not to drive unless you have a valid Class C driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. You do have 2 pending DUI cases, so you might want to check with the Department of Driver Services as to the status of your license. If you just have a limited permit, I'm not going to allow you to drive. Do you understand? Your condition is a valid Class C driver's license. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Position number 22, Mr. Lemus. Your Honor, this is.
Hey, Mr. Tom White, good morning.
Yes, Francois? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me take, yes, ma'am, what is it?
Good morning, Judge Law. I just need Tom White. We're gonna go ahead and give you a call. Are you gonna be available?
I'm available.
All right.
Okay, give me a moment, please. I'll be right with position number, was it number 2, Mr. Shatay?
Number 22.
22, okay, hold please. Ms. Falk, I have private counsel in the courtroom for Ms. Moon, position number 34. So just FYI, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Position 22. How are we proceeding on position 22, Mr. Shatay?
This is a negotiated plea, Judge.
All right. Roberto Lemus, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Lemus is accused of simple battery and willful obstruction of an officer from March 3rd of this year, case number 25 CR 1128F. Ms. Lemus, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Shatay. Please raise your right hand for the plea. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. Count 1, the simple battery. The state's recommendation is 12 months or 60 days. Credit for time served, 18 days. That is from March 3rd, 2025 until today. Balance probated, 12 weeks of anger management, 40 hours of community service, and no further contact with Myotia per year. Count 2, the willful obstruction of law enforcement officer, is 12 months concurrent with count 1 and a $300 fine. At this time, we would like to sound for Myotia per year, and we do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of this plea. That's all for the state.
All right. Ms. Poirier, if you on Zoom and you want to say something, this is the time to unmute and start your audio or start your video. All right. Mr. Shatay, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and does your client accept the terms?
I stipulate, Your Honor, I just asked that my client go on non-reporting status once he completes the requirements.
Any non-reporting, any objection, Ms. Falk?
No objection to non-reporting, Your
All
Honor.
right. And with the understanding that even on non-reporting, he'll be required to have no further contact with the victim.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Lemus, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
I'm satisfied with my attorney.
And has he explained to you that if you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury? You will not be able to go back to court to confront your accusers, challenge the evidence brought against you. Your attorney will not be able to present your arguments and defenses, and the prosecutor won't have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to simple battery and willful obstruction of an officer?
Guilty.
Your sentence for count one is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 18 days. Once you have served the additional time at the jail, you will then report to probation at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. You will report to probation within 48 hours, and you can report on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, but before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will complete 12 anger management classes, and you will begin those classes within 45 days of being released. You will complete 40 hours of voluntary community service, and you can do that at any nonprofit agency, but it cannot be a church and it cannot be a school. And you must complete a minimum of 5 hours per month. At all times, whether you're on active or non-reporting probation, you shall have no contact with Myosha Pereira. For count two, your sentence is 12 months, concurrent with count one, and you have an additional $300 fine. You must pay that fine at a minimum rate of $30 per month. And once you have paid all your fines, done your classes, done your community service, and you're up to date with your probation fees, and you haven't gotten arrested again, then your probation will be non-reporting.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions, Mr. Chate?
No questions.
All right, thank you.
No.
You said 18 days time served for the 60 days. Time served 18 days.
No, I told you that.
Was there a question about his time at the jail? I'm sorry, Mr. Chate, you're on mute.
You understand? No questions, Your Honor. We'll go ahead.
All right, and we'll take the next case.
Position number one, Mr. Harris, Richard Harris.
Did you say one?
I did, but I look like Tom's. His turn. Who's your next person? Chate.
Harris is 21. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Oh, I don't be here at 9:50.
This is State versus Richard Harris, accused of two counts of battery, simple battery and criminal trespass, case 25 CR 1156Y from March 5th of this year. Mr. Harris, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. Chate. Please raise your right hand for the plea. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony, not just your finger, your whole hand? Hold hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation?
Recommendation is 12 months served 90 days, credit for time served 15 days from March 5th, 2025 until today. Balance probated, 12 weeks anger management away from the Chevron located at 1683 Lakewood Avenue. No further contact with Siriam Denthorthy.
Okay.
Then Denturthy. The count two will merge with count one. Count three is 12 months served 90 days. Credit for time served 15 days, balance probated, the same stay away and no further contact conditions. Count four will merge with count one. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. We do object to any non-reporting or suspension of this sentence upon completion of the conditions. That's all for the state.
All right. Mr. Chate, does your client accept the terms and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, I stipulate, Your Honor. I just want to ask the state, is count three concurrent with count one?
Yes. Let me see.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay. All right.
And it will be pleading guilty to two counts, battery and criminal trespass, since counts 2 and count 4 will merge.
Right, all right. And we were going to ask for non-reporting status. I understand the state objects, but we want to ask for it anyway.
Okay. What grounds?
Just after he completes the requirements, the 12 weeks anger management,
All right, Ms. Falk, your particular objection?
The defendant has 28 cycles, Your Honor. He has cases including family violence battery, criminal trespass, marijuana possession, probation violations from dating back to 2016. Let's see. Who appears, more probation violations, simple battery arrests, a theft by taking where he got a 6-serve-2 sentence in 2010. Additionally, when the police report indicated that this defendant had been to that location previously and had harassed the person at that store on previous occasions. On this occasion, he actually struck Mr. Denthorthy with his fists, punching him multiple times, and resulting in lacerations and visible injuries behind his ear, right on his forehead, on his right hand, and his lip. And so based on the amount of violence that was shown to just a clerk who was at the store doing what he was doing his job and his extensive history, that is why we object.
All right. Request for non-reporting probations denied. I'm just looking at the warrants itself. If he's stipulating to the factual basis, he will be required to report to probation every month. Would Mr. Harris like to proceed with the plea, or would he like to go to trial?
We'll proceed with the plea, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Richard Harris, and I'm sorry, you did say you stipulated to. Okay. Mr. Harris, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No,
And have you understood what's going on in your case?
yes,
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
yes,
Are you pleading guilty freely, willingly, and voluntarily?
yes,
And you understand that you have about 30 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail before you report to probation?
yes,
All right. Has it also been explained to you that if you plead guilty, you would have to give up your right to a trial? You will not go back to a courtroom to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, and the prosecutor won't have to prove the 4 charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
yes,
How do you plead to 1 count of battery and 1 count of criminal trespass?
guilty,
Count 2, simple battery, will merge into count 1. Count 4, battery, will merge into count 3. For the battery is 12 months probation to serve 90 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated. After you've done your 30 additional days at the jail, you'll report to probation at 132 Mitchell Street, and you report either on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, but it must be within 48 hours of being released. While you're on probation, you will complete 12 anger management classes, and you will stay 200 yards away from the Chevron gas station at 1683 Lakewood Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And at all times, you will have no contact with Sriram Danthurthi. With regards to the criminal trespass, your sentence is 12 months probation, serve 90 days, credit for time served 15 days, again, to stay away from the Chevron at 1683 Lakewood, and again, no contact with Sriram Danthurthi. What that means is that you are to, while you're on probation, you report every month, you pay your probation fees, you enroll in your 12 anger management classes within 45 days of being released. And make sure that you do not communicate and stay 200 yards away from Mr. Sriram, and that you do not return to that Chevron gas station. If you're seen anywhere near Mr. Sriram or anywhere near that Chevron, you'll be back in jail. Do you understand, sir?
yeah,
Yes or no?
yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Hello, do we have something else new? Okay, she can have a seat when his name comes on screen, but we just make sure that he is on this calendar.
What's his last name?
Thank you. Who do we have next? Francois, who do we have?
Good morning, Judge. This is gonna be Ms. Kira Moon. She has a private attorney.
All right. Counsel, if you'd like to take the podium right there. Unfortunately, our Zoom screen is not on. So you won't be able to see your client and your client won't be able to see you.
Okay.
Can you do an audio test? 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Ms. Falk, can you hear counsel? I'm
I
sorry.
can,
All right,
yes.
and could you state your name, please?
I'm attorney Michelle Ruff.
Okay. This is an announcement for the individuals at ACDC. Good morning. My name is Judge Lal. We are going to be addressing each of your cases. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. One will be appointed to represent you so that you can confer and go over your details. We are addressing Kiara Alondra Moon. Ms. Moon is in custody on the following charges: driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, failure to maintain lane, and improper left turn. This is from an August 21st, 2015 matter. Ms. Moon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney, Michelle Ruff, is in the courtroom with me. You want to say hello to her so she knows you?
Good morning, Miss Moon.
All right, can you hear your attorney? You need to speak up, Miss. Can you hear your attorney, Miss Moon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's better. Thank you. All right, how are we proceeding today, Ms. Ruff?
I'm just receiving this offer, but I do have a question and I would have asked the solicitor. Otherwise, we will at this point enter not guilty. And if
Okay,
I could to speak with the solicitor and hold, then we might be able to resolve this today as she is ready to.
you can move the mic. I know this gives us special, these are. All right, let me see now. She is on, apparently she failed to show up for court.
Correct.
On May 21st, 2018, her bond was forfeited. And then she's been MIA since until March 12th when we got an address change.
And she turned herself in at that time, Your Honor.
Okay,
So that is why I would like to address the court to ensure that by accepting or speak with the solicitor that by accepting this plea, she would be able to get out of jail.
all right. Ms. Falk, how should Ms. Ruff communicate with you this morning?
If the clerk's office, so I am the only one on the calendar today, if the clerk's office could put us on a breakout, because either way, I will have to, there will not be anyone to handle the cases while I'm discussing this.
All right. Are you?
Well, I guess we can't really put them in a breakout since you're in the courtroom as well. I
Well,
can send my,
she can go on her phone device and step outside and speak
Correct.
with you when
That
we
would
have
work.
but you're the only person there, so
that is correct.
it's going to be a waiting period.
Okay.
In the meantime, did you file a motion to set aside the bond?
I did not.
Defendant's motion granted to recall the bench warrant.
Right, Your Honor, I was going to mention that. This is actually the second time she's had a bench warrant on this case. Her
Oh.
first bench warrant was in 2018. February of 2018. The bond was then, the order was then set aside. The bench warrant was recalled in March of 2018. Then she failed to appear again, and the bond was ordered forfeited in June of 2018.
Okay, all right. Oops. Oh, Ms. Champion? Okay. Just 1 second.
I probably can't say I know my laptop.
Just 1 second, please. Okay, let's address a motion to set aside the bench warrant. Ms. Ruff, why should I set aside the second bench warrant?
Your Honor, it's because she did turn herself in on the 12th and she has me now. So we intend to keep the court updated with regard to anything any upcoming hearings. And we actually have been doing the research. We already have all of those hearings, but it is our intention for her to plead out today. Although there is 18 days time, I believe. She served 9 days as of today. And we just would like to have that credit served and then also be done. And then from here, be able to just report for her probation.
Ms. Folk?
And Your Honor, just to communicate with the defense on this, yes, that would be a time served plea with the 2-for-1, 18 credit for time served 9 would release her today. However, as an additional wrinkle, your client has a hold from Gwinnett County. So that although that would release her from our custody, it would then transfer her to Gwinnett County to deal with her hold there.
Okay, and we do have that on the calendar as well, so we're fine. We understand that. Thank you.
Okay.
What is the charge in Gwinnett County?
Your Honor, as always, and we can ask, I don't know if probation's on the line and could assist us with this.
Does she have another
pretrial
DUI?
services.
I believe it's for probation, but we don't know the actual underlying charges yet, so.
Okay.
And
We've
the
been
inherent
trying-
issue is they don't put that information in the hit confirmation, so I can't tell what it is.
Okay. We're going to give Ms. Ruff the Zoom link, and then she can either communicate with Ms. Folk or Francois, how can Ms. Ruff call into ACDC to speak with her client?
Well, she can't call us. We'll have to call her. She can put the number on the chat.
Okay, we'll get the number and we'll put in the chat to ACDC, okay?
Thank you.
All right. All right, Ms. Ruff, you'll get the Zoom link from Ms. Champion and please give her.
Can send her the Zoom link.
Okay.
I don't.
But someone needs to email it to Ms. Ruff.
Ms. Ruff, I can email you the Zoom link if you can give me your email address.
Michelle Ruff, MICHELLERUFF, F like Frank, at Ruff Law Firm.
And what? Ruff Law Firm?
Yes, ma'am, .com.
Michelle Ruff at rufflawfirm.com.
Yes, ma'am. And oftentimes people repeat it, but they forget the firm. And if you forget the firm, it goes into somewhere into the Ethernet. So.
All right. Just 1 second, please. All right, Ms. Moon, your attorney is going to speak to the prosecutor once she gets the Zoom link so she can speak to Ms. Falk. And in the meantime, we can take the next case.
Position number 38, Mr. Mark Prosper.
Francois, I've sent you the cell number for the attorney.
I see it. Thank you, Judge.
And Your Honor, I have sent that Zoom link.
All right, and I've sent it to you as well, Ms. Falk. So however you like to send it. All right, give me that, was it 38?
Yes.
Thank you. Mark Prosper is accused of driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, reckless driving, driving while license suspended or revoked, and giving false information to an officer from November 24th, 2024. His accusation number is 25 CR 1180Y. Mr. Ruff, you've been advised, Mr. Prosper, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Chatay. This is going to be a plea offer. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation on count 1 is 12 months served, 30 days, credit for time served, 15 days. That's from March 6, 2025 until today. Balance probated, ADET, risk reduction, victim impact panel, $300 fine, 40 hours of community service. Count 2 is 12 months, the reckless driving, 12 months concurrent with count 1, a $300 fine. Count 3, the suspended license, is 12 months concurrent with count 1, $100 fine. Count 4, the giving false information to law enforcement officers, is 12 months concurrent with count 1. So that would be a total of 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, a total of $1,100 in fines, 40 hours of community service, ADET, DUI risk reduction, and a victim impact panels. And I believe I already said 40 hours of community service. The state asked the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification. Just for the court's edification, we do not object to non-reporting once he completes the conditions. That's all for the state.
All right. Mr. Chate?
We stipulate, Your Honor, and we were going to ask for non-reporting status once he meets the requirements.
All right, the non-reporting is granted as long as he's up to date with all his fees, fines, and conditions. Mr. Prosper, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
If you will the host please switch off the video for Connie Wright? Miss Wright will let you back on video when you are addressing the case you're interested in. Switch off your video. Okay. As I was saying, if you decide, Mr. Prosper, if you decide to enter this plea, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, have your attorney present your arguments and defenses in a court of law, as well as have the prosecutor prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that pleading guilty to a DUI will suspend your driver's license?
Yes.
All right. How do you plead? To driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, reckless driving, driving while license suspended or revoked, and giving false information to an officer?
Yes.
For the DUI, your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated. If you have no holds, you will report to probation on Monday, the 24th March, and before 3 p.m. And the probation office is at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you will complete an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment that's required. This must be done within 15 days of being released. You will complete a risk reduction course, and this must be completed within 60 days of being released. You will attend and complete one victim impact panel, pay a $300 fine, and complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school. And you must do your community service at a minimum rate of 5 hours per month. For reckless driving is 12 months probation concurrent with count 1 with an additional $300 fine. For driving while license suspended or revoked, it is a 12-month probation concurrent with count 1 with an additional $500 fine. And giving false information is 12 months probation concurrent with count 1. Your total fine is going to be $1,100, and you will pay that fine at a minimum rate of $100 per month until all fines are paid. You will report to probation every month and pay your probation fees. While you are on probation, active or non-reporting, there shall be no driving until you have a valid Class C driver's license, not a limited permit, a Class C driver's license, and you will be subject to random screens. So you cannot consume any alcohol and no illegal drugs while either you're on active or non-reporting probation. That's it. And and if you've completed all your conditions and you're up to date with all your fines and fees, then your probation will be non-reporting. Thank you.
Come on, Richard.
Judge, we're ready for position number 34, Ms. Moon.
Ms. Ruff is not in the courtroom. She's still outside. I think she's waiting to speak to Ms. Falk.
Okay.
And that will have to be on hold until she's had a chance.
Position number 39, Mr. Richardson.
All right. Stephen Richardson is accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence from, well, count 1 is from January 4th, 2025, and count 2 is from March 5th, 2025. Mr. Richardson's case is 25 CR 1162F. Mr. Richardson, you've been advised of your rights, and this is position 39, which is going to, Mr. Chate, how are we proceeding?
This is a non-negotiated plea, Judge.
All right, sir. Please raise your right hand, Mr. Richardson. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Richardson, this is going to be a non-negotiated plea hearing, which means that the prosecutor will give me their recommendation, including the factual basis for that recommendation and the reasons why they're seeking that particular sentence. Your attorney will give me an alternative recommendation. I will consider both options and give you my decision, keeping in mind that I can disregard either option and further notice this case for trial. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. Does Your Honor want to hear the criminal history from pretrial services?
All right. Who do we have from pretrial this morning? Ms. Washington?
Mr. Richardson has 10 arrest cycles. In 2020, there was a DUI out of Fayetteville. In 2015, there was a misdemeanor conviction for cruelty to children. There was also a conditional discharge program for possession of cocaine in 2012. There was an arrest for a simple battery in 2008 out of College Park. No disposition was listed there. Also, there was a prior aggravated assault arrest from 2004 out of Fulton County. No disposition was listed. And there appeared to be a CWAC capital offense from 2004 that was dead docketed. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. And as for the aggravated assault case, that was under 14 SC 129943. The defendant pled guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a felony, as well as cruelty to children in the third degree as children were present during the act. The sentence was on October 15th of 2015, and the defendant received 6 years, 1 year commuted to time served with the remaining 5 years on probation. As a condition of that sentence, he was to have no violent contact with Kathy Richardson or Eric Richardson. And on the other case, which was 15 SC 133380, the defendant entered a plea of guilty and was convicted for the offense of aggravated stalking. On that case, he was sentenced on October 2nd of 2015 and received 6 years, 5 years on probation with 1 year commuted to time served. That ran concurrent with the previous case, and he was to have no further contact with the victim in that case, Ernestine Sherman. So that was the disposition of the felony cases that you heard that were out of Fulton County. The defendant also has a 14 CR 11886 family violence battery, cruelty to children in the third degree. That was disposed of on January 29th of 2015. The defendant received 12 months probation, no further contact with Michelle Ernestine Sherman. That was January 29th of 2015, as well as to, serve an additional 55 days in jail and have 24-week anger management classes. So that just gives you a little bit of background on the defendant's history and why the recommendation was made as it was. In this particular case, Your Honor, the defendant was at the residence located at, 811 Hank Aaron Drive. Upon arrival, Officer Hilaire made contact with Miss Janelle Johnson, who stated her husband attacked her. She complained of injury to the left side of her face, but the officers didn't see a visible bruise. The defendant was not on the scene. Officer's arrival, she stated that they had been drinking prior to this dispute. When our office spoke with the victim in this case, the day after this incident occurred, Ms. Johnson stated to our victim witness advocate, just a moment, Your Honor. She stated to the victim witness advocate that she had actually just gotten out of the hospital yesterday and went back to see the defendant. The defendant attacked her again. He was arrested on the warrant from the first incident, which was in January of 2025. She stated that the defendant was drunk. He punched her in the face, threw her phone so she could not call the police. At that time, she stated she was in fear of the defendant and believed he would kill her, and she was not going back to the residence. She also said that he had gotten her fired from previous jobs and sent inappropriate pictures to her coworkers in the past. Her position, as is often the case with domestic violence victims, has altered since then. And the last time we talked to the victim, our victim advocate did talk to her. She stated she wished to have him back because she needed financial assistance due to her medical conditions. The state's recommendation was based on all of these factors and was 12 months served, 60 days, credit for time served 16 days. From March 5th, 2025, balance probated, no further contact with Janelle Johnson, stay away from the victim's residence, Family Violence Intervention Program, ADET, and no firearms. Count 2, 12 months concurrent with count 1.
So you're asking for an additional, 14 days in jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk, could you repeat the recommendation? I'm sorry.
The recommendation was 12 months served, 60 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance probated, no further contact with Janelle Johnson, stay away from the victim's residence, Family Violence Intervention Program, ADET, no firearms, and 12 months concurrent on the simple battery.
Right. Mr. Chate, what's the defense recommendation?
Your Honor, the defense recommendation is largely the same as the state's recommendation. My client only asks for a sentence of 50 days and not 60. According to my client, his wife has heart problems that he needs to look after. He needs to be at home with her. And he also informed me that he risks losing his job if he stays in jail for even for 5 days longer. So it would just mean that the sentence would be 5 days less than what the state's recommending. That's what the defense asks for. In addition to that, the defense asks for Mr. Richardson to go to non-reporting status once he completes the terms of his probation. And also that the convictions that the state refers to, they date back to 2014, 2015. So although he does have a criminal history, it's not recent.
So I'm concerned. So you want me to accept your recommendation because of the victim situation? What about the fact that this might be a repeat incident again? On what grounds should I let Mr. Richardson have any contact with this victim when I have two separate incidences just about 2 months apart? I'm hoping Miss Janelle Johnson's also on Zoom, which she is not. So that's the part. I totally sympathize with the victim situation. She clearly needs a caretaker. She clearly needs someone to support her. My question is, why should I allow Mr. Richardson to be that person? At least for the next 12 months.
Well, Your Honor, he has a no further contact order, and he also has a stay away from the victim's residence to be complying with. But he has other ways of providing, like financially, for example.
All right. So. Yeah, I'm going to go with the state's recommendation, Mr. Chate. This is not a situation where Mr. Richardson has a relatively clean record or a record with just non-violent offenses. He's got a string of violent offenses. And now he's involved with a woman who is apparently in need of medical attention. who is vulnerable, and I'm not inclined to spare him any additional jail time. So would he like to proceed, or we can schedule this for trial?
We'll proceed with the state's offer.
All right. Mr. Richardson, and Mr. Chate, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
We stipulate.
All right. Mr. Richardson, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
No, Judge.
And have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, Judge.
Do you understand the court's reasoning for accepting the state's recommendation?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
All right. And are you satisfied with your attorney services?
Yes, I am.
If you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, to be able to present your own defenses and arguments, and the state won't have to carry its burden and prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, I am.
How do you plead to one count of battery, family violence, and one count of simple battery, family violence?
I plead guilty.
Your sentence is count one is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 16 days. You have additional 14 days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once you've completed this additional 2 weeks, you'll be released and you must report to probation immediately within 48 hours or on the first available Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. Probation is located at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you are to have no contact with Janelle Johnson. Even though Ms. Johnson, if she initiates contact or invites you, you are now under a court order and a condition of probation to have no contact with Ms. Johnson. You have to stay 200 yards away from her, not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, and you are not to reach out to her through a third party, social media, or any other way. That's a condition of probation. If you violate that, you might end up being back in jail, serving out the rest of the year. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
You are to stay away from 811 Hank Aaron Drive. You're not allowed to return to that location. While you're on probation, you are to complete a domestic violence intervention program. Do you have a problem with not returning to Hank Aaron Drive?
Just a moment, Your Honor, I need to consult with my client.
All right. Do we have the other case? The lady who was here for her daughter or son?
Her son,
Yeah.
yes, it's Millen.
Oh, okay.
Kentavious Millen, I think he's position
But that's Mr. Bartel's case.
Okay.
25.
I'm sorry, Ms. McLeod, did you say something?
I am sorry, Your Honor, I was not speaking to the court,
Oh,
and I
okay.
did not realize I was not.
All right, no
muted.
problem. All right, courtroom 2, we can take another case while y'all are conferring. All right, Francois, who do we have?
This is gonna be position number 11, Ms. Crandall.
11, and that's going to be Ms. McLeod's case or Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Okay,
It's my case, Your Honor.
all right, and are you ready to proceed with Mr. Cran, is that Mr. Crandall?
Miss Crandall, Your Honor.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, we're ready to proceed.
Okay, and how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, we were hoping that we could get Miss Crandall's bond modified because she does not have an offer from the state which would allow her to get out of jail.
I haven't, well, yeah, it's 60 days credit for time served, 15 days. So there is a requirement to serve 15 more days at the jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Has the case been arraigned? No?
Yes, Your Honor, I have filed an arraignment into the case.
All right, so there's a waiver of arraignment?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and tell me, Ms. Crandall, your case is 25 CR 1173A. You're accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from February 28th of this year. Your attorney, Ms. McLeod, is on Zoom, and you have been advised of your right to remain silent. Yes, Ms. McLeod, what is the basis for a modification?
Your Honor, she's not in a position to pay for bond, so essentially she'll end up just sitting in jail until her case comes up. We feel that we have a good defense to this case, Your Honor, so we would like her to be outside where she can work with her attorney to properly defend against the charges made by the state, and she just can't post bond.
Where does she live?
She lives in, I believe her address is in Fulton County, Your Honor, in Alpharetta.
Does she live at the Tahoe Apartments?
Yes, Your Honor.
She can't go back there, so she doesn't have a place to live.
Oh, I live in Cumming, Georgia.
You live where?
In Cumming, Georgia.
With whom?
My mother,
What's your mother's name?
Erica Crandall.
Erica Crandall. We don't know what her address is. Is Erica Crandall on Zoom?
She's not on Zoom, Your Honor, but I do have her address.
All right. And other than the fact that she can't afford it, Ms. Washington, do we have a GCIC for position 11, China Crandall? She's got a $1,000 surety bond at the present time, $500 on each count.
Yes, Your Honor. There are 12 arrest cycles, FTAs from 2024 and 2023. There is an open case that's pre-indicted in Superior Court for theft by shoplifting, and that was from May of last year. A 2020 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting, a 2019 FTA as well. And in 2019, there was a no-low plea to battery out of Cobb County. And prior to that, there were juvenile arrests. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Folk.
So I believe why the Judge Williams ordered a $1,000 surety bond has a lot to do with the fact that Miss Crandall has 3 failure to appears out of 3 different counties. 2024 out of Forsyth County, 2023 out of Roswell Police Department, and 2019 out of, let's see, I believe it was Cobb. Yes, Cobb County Sheriff's Office. That was, I believe, one of the largest reasons is based on the Ayala factor of whether she'll appear in court, she would fail pretty solidly. She also has that theft by shoplifting that's pending a previous theft by shoplifting conviction. She also has an arrest for PI on July 10th of 2024 and a subsequent arrest for criminal trespass. Oh, that might be our case. So I apologize. Actually, no, that is not our case. On March 6, 2025, she had a criminal trespass warrant issued for her. Let me just double check and make sure that that's part of our case or not. She also has a May 2024 theft by shoplifting that has not been disposed of as well. So we have multiple arrests pending as well as this case, which is why I believe the $1,000 bond was issued and why it should be upheld. The state's recommendation was largely based on the fact that Miss Crandall's history, as well as the theft history, due to the fact that in this case, she was coming from an abandoned apartment, and that abandoned apartment was located at the apartment that she is currently ordered to stay away from. So she does not live there. The premises of Tahoe Apartments at 100 Holcomb Bridge Road. She was carrying, and she and her co-defendant were carrying a number of copper pipes and items that had been removed, it looks like, from air conditioning units at that location. And so the criminal trespass was, they had evidence that she had been on the property without permission, and that was the basis for them taking out a warrant against her for criminal trespass.
Ms. McLeod, anything else to add? Maureen McLeod? Sorry, did she drop out of Zoom?
Not
It
sure,
looks,
Your Honor.
it looks like she did, Judge, by accident.
Oh.
We can come
Oh.
back to her case, Judge. That's
Okay,
fine.
can we just put a pin on Miss Crandall's case, and I'm going back to courtroom 2, for,
Number
was it-
39, Mr. Richardson.
tell me that position number, was it Mr.
Richardson.
Richardson? Yeah, okay, got it. All right, Mr. Chate?
So, Judge Law, it looks like there was some confusion about the stay away order. So on the offer sheet, it said stay away from the victim's residence. I spoke with my client just now, and according to him, the Ms. Johnson, she lives at 580 Ventura Lane in College Park. So that's that would be the stay away address, I guess. But the incident that we heard from the state, that happened at my client's mother's home, and he lives there. The alleged victim in this case doesn't live there. So if there's going to be a stay away.
So where is the marital home?
So they live at, I guess my understanding is they live at separate locations. So my client lives at 811.
So at the time, she was living with me and my mom.
In 2025, January and March, where is the marital home?
No. But she never lived, she was just over there, like, but she lived at 580 Ventura Lane.
Okay.
But there.
No, I don't buy it. Ms. Falk, where is the marital home according to the alleged victim?
So that I'm not clear on based on the information we received from her. It states that she said she is in the process, her mom is in the process of having him removed from her lease and the property.
Which is which one?
So-
The Hank Aaron Drive?
I believe so, yes. And she says she is currently staying, at least in March, early March of this year, she was staying with her parents at her parents' address.
Does she
And
plan to
so-
return to the marital home at Hank Aaron?
It looks like she may, because the recommendation was that the stay away should be from the parents' address and the incident location, which is the defendant's mom's address.
Defendant's mom's address. Okay. All right. Mr. Chate, I will do a stay away from 811 Hank Aaron Drive. Listen very carefully, please. He is allowed a one-time visit to the location with a police officer. And if the officer verifies with the homeowner or the leaseholder that Ms. Janelle Johnson does not live there and has vacated the premises, then he can return to 811 Hank Aaron Drive. That's pretty much it. But if it turns out to be false and that Ms. Johnson actually does live there, then he would need to vacate that premises and find another location.
Yes, Judge.
But bottom line is that he and Ms. Janelle Johnson cannot share the same roof for the remainder time that he's on probation.
Yes, Judge.
Is that something that you want to accept, or shall we go to trial?
He accepts the terms, Your Honor.
All right. Getting back to 25 CR 001162F, as Mr. Richardson has pled guilty to battery and simple battery family violence, I'll continue with the sentence. No further contact with Janelle Johnson. Stay away from the victim's residence, which presently I have as 811 Hank Aaron Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. He's allowed a one-time visit to that location with a police officer. If the officer verifies with the occupant in that location that Janelle Johnson does not live there and has in fact vacated the premises, then he can return to the Hank Aaron Drive. But if it turns out to be false, he must vacate and update probation with his new address within 30 days. Also, within 60 days of being released and being on probation, he will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program, and he must complete all 26 weeks of those classes without missing or skipping any classes, and it has to be paid for. Within 15 days of being released and placed on probation, he will undergo an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit himself to any treatment or counseling as required. He's not allowed to own, possess, or have any firearms on his person, in his home, in any vehicle he occupies, or anywhere near him. On count 2, it will be 12 months concurrent with count 1. That concludes the sentence. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Falk, have you had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Ruff?
I have, she is amenable to accepting the plea, so I'm filling out the plea paperwork now.
All right. Deputy, could you sound up for Attorney Michelle Ruff, please? All right, Francois, please hold tight. We'll be with you very shortly. Courtroom 2, who is there?
Number 4041 Robertson.
Ms. Ruff, if you come up, are you? All right, Mr. Chate, you are on deck, okay? Ms. Moon? Okay, and Ms. Ruff, we can hear you quite clearly. If you want to move that microphone a bit to the side, if it's bothering you with all its temperamental diva behavior. I don't know how else to control that thing. Okay. All right, returning to Kiara Moon. Ms. Ruff, this is case 17CR 017063E. You have conferred with prosecutor Ms. Falk. How would your client like to proceed?
She would like to plead guilty.
Okay, so she's accepting the plea recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Moon, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? You need to speak up really loud.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have gone over the charges. And Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation for these charges?
Yes, Your Honor. State's recommendation on this is on count 1, 12 months served, 18 days, credit for time served 9 days. That's from March 12th, 2025 until today. Balance probated, $600 fine, ADET, risk reduction course, victim impact panel, and 240 hours community service. Count 2 is going to be a $300 fine. We are deleting out the additional community service. Count 3 is a $265 fine. Count 4 is a $265 fine. So that is a total of 12 months served, 18 days, credit for time served 9 days, ADET, victim impact panel, DUI risk reduction, 240 hours of community service, and $1,430 in fines. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
Right. Ms. Ruff?
Yes, we stipulate.
Ms. Moon, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you understand that your license will be suspended for a minimum of 1 year.
Yes.
And if you also proceed with the plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, confront your accuser, be able to challenge the evidence presented against you. Your attorney will not be able to present any defenses or arguments you may have, and the state won't have to carry its burden to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, obstruction of an officer, failure to maintain lane, and improper left turn?
Guilty.
For count 1, your sentence is 12 months to serve 18 days, credit for time served 9 days, balance probated. I understand that you have another hold. Once you are transferred to the other jurisdiction and you are released from that jurisdiction, you must immediately report to Fulton County Probation within 48 hours on the first available Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. And you must report before 3 p.m. Probation is located at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you will pay a $600 fine for the DUI, complete an alcohol and drug evaluation within 15 days of being on probation, and submit yourself to any treatment that's required. Within 2 months, you must enroll in a risk reduction program and complete the defensive driving classes, attend a victim impact panel, and complete 240 hours of community service. You must complete your community service at a minimum rate of 25 hours per month. Do you understand? And you can do
Yeah.
your community service at any nonprofit agency, but it cannot be a church or religious organization, and it cannot be a school of any sort. For count two is 12 months probation concurrent with count one for a $300 fine. For count three is concurrent with count one with an additional $265 fine. And for count four is concurrent with count one with an additional $265 fine. Your total fine is $1,430. You must make a minimum payment of $125 per month until your entire fine is paid off, including your probation fees. That completes the sentence. Any questions, Ms. Rowe?
Your Honor, we just need is this, I believe this one is qualifies, even though it's the second for her to have a valid license to get to and from work.
August 21st, no, it's still within 10 years. So she doesn't qualify for a limited permit, and she has to report to no driving for a minimum period of 12 months.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I sent the plea paperwork to Miss Champion, so Miss Ruff just has to go ahead and go through the statutory questions and sign.
Have you already spoken to your client?
Yes.
All right, and do you have express permission to sign on her behalf?
Yes.
All right, then if you want to fill them out and hand them to Ms. Champion, that would take care of it. Thank you, Ms. Ruff.
Thank you.
All right, Francois, that concludes the case with Ms. Moon. And once the disposition's entered, Gwinnett County can come pick her up.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you. All right, Mr. Chate, and that was it Mr. Robertson?
Yes, positions 40 and 41.
All right. Position 40 is Akil Robertson, accused of theft by shoplifting from November 6, 2024, accusation 25 CR 1223Y. Mr. Robertson has another theft by shoplifting from November 7th, 2024. And that case number is 25 CR 1224Y. Mr. Robertson, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. Chate. This is going to be a plea hearing. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation on position 40, that theft by shoplifting, is 12 months served 28 days, credit for time served 14 days from March 7th of 2025, balance probated, stay away from all target locations, a $500 fine, and an anti-theft course. On position 41, the state's recommendation is the same, 12 months served 28 days, stay away from all target locations, a $500 fine, and an anti-theft course that is to run concurrent with the previous case. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue factual basis and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
Sir, Mr. Chate?
We stipulate, Your Honor, and ask that this go to non-reporting status once my client completes the requirements.
Okay. I was expecting the non-reporting request, so I need his GCIC. Is this something that I addressed, or was that Judge Morrow? I need to know how many cycles he's got and any prior convictions for shoplifting.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm pulling up the bond.
Oh, it's
sheet.
me. Yeah. I gave him a cash bond. Yeah, go ahead and tell me his GCIC.
There are 10 arrest cycles. The last arrest for theft by shoplifting was in February of 2025. And no disposition was listed, but there was a 2024 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting from August of 2024. There was an arrest in June of 2024 for theft by shoplifting in Fulton County. However, that was dismissed. There appears to be an open theft by shoplifting out of DeKalb County from September of 2023, as well as a open 2023 criminal trespass, felony theft by shoplifting, and willful obstruction.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Washington. Mr. Chate, no, he needs to report every month. And if I can make him report every week, I would. But every month. And he'll be required to stay away from all Target stores. And if he's arrested again for anything else, and I don't care whether it's spitting on the sidewalk or jaywalking, I'm going to authorize probation to revoke his probation, have it serve out the rest of the time. And I'm going to make the count position 41 a consecutive sentence. I'm not accepting a concurrent sentence. It'll be 2 years of probation. Would your client like to proceed?
I have to speak with him, Your Honor.
All righty. Sticky fingers. All right. Mr. Murphy, good morning. Who do you have, sir?
Position 42, William Robinson.
All right. And have you had a chance to speak to your client?
I had last week, Your Honor. He's now with the Department of Corrections, and I notified Ms. Falk yesterday that his felony case, his probation had been revoked. He now has 2 years sentence with the Department of Corrections. He's no longer at FCG as we speak. So I was given those circumstances. This particular incident allegedly happened at the Fulton County Jail with another inmate. This was in November of 2023. So I was given these circumstances that he's going to be away for a while, if the state would consider null pros in the case, so we could just
Okay. Ms. Falk?
Moot point, he's been
Oh,
released.
I recognize that smile. I recognize that smile. Mr. Murphy, you got to read that smile. Okay, Ms. Falk, what are we doing?
The state is not ready to, at this point, to null pros the case. However, again, he's been released to DOC. So I will follow up with Mr. Murphy as far as what our final decision is.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll place this case on the debt docket, and it'll be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. Mr. Murphy, if you can submit that proposed order. And the state has 2 years to decide what they want to do, whether they want to take it off the debt docket or whether they want to prosecute this matter. All right.
duly noted, Judge. I'll have it down there today.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Falk. Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Not a problem.
All right, and
Okay, Mr. Chate, how are we proceeding with Akil Robertson?
I spoke with my client, Your Honor, and he'll go ahead with your recommendation.
All right, he understands this will be a consecutive sentence, 2 years probation, in credit for time served.
Yes, Your Honor, he understands.
All right. And I'm sorry, you did say you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, I stipulate.
All right. Mr. Robertson, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
Hey, Your Honor.
And have you understood what's going on in both your cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your attorney services?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand that with pleading guilty to these 2 charges, your theft by shoplifting convictions are now 3. So if you have any new arrests for shoplifting, that can automatically be a felony charge. Has that been explained to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And are you entering this plea freely, willingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you know that if you enter this plea to these 2 cases, you would have to give up your right to a trial? You will not be able to go back to court to confront your accusers, challenge the evidence brought against you. Your attorney won't be able to present your arguments, defenses, or mitigating factors, and the prosecutor won't have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to theft by shoplifting on position 40 from November 6, 2024?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how do you plead to theft by shoplifting in position 41 from November 7th, 2024?
Yes, Your Honor.
For Position 40, case ending in 1223Y. The sentence is 12 months to serve 28 days, credit for time served 14 days. If you have no other holds, you will report to Fulton County Probation on Monday, March 24th before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will pay a $500 fine, and you must make that fine payment at a minimum rate of $25 per month. And you are to enroll in an anti-theft class within 90 days of being released from jail. And you have to complete that class at your expense. You will report to probation every month for this particular case. And you are to stay away from all Target stores. So any building that has the Target store in it with a big red bullseye on it, you cannot enter those premises. Do you understand?
Yes,
For position 41, your sentence is 12 months probation to serve 28 days, credit for time served 14 days consecutive to the first case. And that will be served on probation. Again, you have to stay away from all Target stores, pay an additional $500 fine, and the anti-theft class that you completed in the first case, that can be applicable to this case as well. So you only need to do one anti-theft class, but your total fine for both cases is $1,000 plus probation fees. And as I said, if you get arrested again anytime during the next 24 months, probation is authorized to revoke your probation in both cases, and you will serve out the rest of the 2 years in jail or in prison. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Position 57 through number 60, Wilson.
I heard Wilson. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
57 through 60.
Got it. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Mr. Bartel, good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. You have Shay Wilson, who's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cases with us. How are we proceeding with this matter?
This is a negotiated plea, Your Honor. I understand 2 of them are failures to appear. It'll be a negotiated plea, basically time served with a stay away on both of them. I'm not real clear on how many days he has served on this. So maybe I might need some help figuring that out, Ms. Falk, but we'll proceed with the plea.
All right. Ms. Falk, while you ascertain the days he served, let me go ahead and let Mr. Wilson know. This is Shay Wilson. He's got 2 bench warrants, case numbers 25 FTA 464 and 465. And the underlying cases, position 57 is 22 CR 2885A, accused of criminal trespass at the Economy Hotel in Roswell, Georgia. And case number 23 CR 0016518, accused of criminal trespass, again at the Economy Hotel from March 17th, 2023. Mr. Wilson, these are the 4 open cases against you. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and you're represented by Mr. Paul Bartel. Ms. Falk, I'm so sorry. Mr. Wilson, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Will the host please switch off the video on Shamika until she's seated? Thank you. All right, Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation for position 57 and 58?
For position 57, the criminal trespass, the state's recommendation is 12 months served 98 days, credit for time served 49 days. I can give the specific dates of his incarceration. That was May 12th, 2022 to May 13th, 2022. Then he was rearrested and served from August 16th, 2024 to September 17th, 2024. He was then released, then rearrested and served from March 5th, 2025 until today. Balance suspended, stay away from the Economy Hotel at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia. On his second case, the criminal trespass, the state's recommendation is 12 months serve 132 days, credit for time served for 66 days. That case, he was initially arrested March 17, 2023 and served until April 4th of 2023. He was then rearrested and served about a month, August 16th, 2024 to September 17th, 2024. Then he was rearrested again and was in jail from March 5th, 2025 until today. Balance suspended, stay away from the Economy Hotel located at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia. The next two cases, the FTAs will be dismissed upon null prost upon the acceptance of both of these pleas. He would not have any time remaining on either of these cases in custody. But I will say that, oh, okay, he doesn't have any other cases pending, so this should release him.
Yeah, that's my understanding, Judge, and I appreciate that, Ms. Falk. I didn't know that the August 16th to September 17th was for these cases, so
Yeah, they were previous FTAs. He FTA'd, I think, more than once.
Okay, yeah, that's our understanding, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Bartel, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, or does your client accept these terms?
We do so stipulate for the plea, and he does accept it.
Mr. Wilson, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
Have you understood what's going on in your cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide to plead guilty to these two cases, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not go back to a court of law, confront your accuser, challenge the evidence presented against you, and be able to, and the state won't have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass from May 12, 2022?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 98 days, credit for time served 49 days, balance suspended. Do not return to that Economy Hotel or whatever hotel is at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia. How do you plead to criminal trespass from March 17th, 2023?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 132 days, credit for time served 66 days, balance suspended. Again, do not return to the address at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, Georgia. I don't care what hotel there is, you just can't enter those premises. Understood? Yes, no?
Yes, Your Honor.
You gotta speak out.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, and the bench warrants are going to be null pros. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that means.
Next, Judge, we have position number 52 and 53, Ms. Ward.
Okay, Mr. White, you have Kyla Ward at ACDC, case number 25 CR 1183F, accused of public drunk, willful obstruction, and criminal trespass from March 4th of this year. And Kyla Ward accused of reckless conduct and willful obstruction in case 23 CR 4062F from June 28th, 2023. Ms. Ward, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Tom White. May I place you under oath, Ms. Ward? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Ms. Ward? Thank you. Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation for Ms. Ward?
Yes, Your Honor. State's recommendation on position 53 is on the reckless conduct, 12 months served 4 days, credit for time served 2 days. That is from June 29th to June 30th and March 6th to I think that was just supposed to be June 29th to June 30th. Balance probated ADET concurrent with her other case, which is 25 CR 001183F, BHET contact with minor child FJ should be in adherence with any current DFAX orders and no firearms. Count 2, the willful obstruction, will be 12 months concurrent with count 1, a $300 fine and 40 hours of community service. On the next position, which would be,
Previous position.
I went in the back, I went backwards. Position
fine.
52 would be drunk, 12 months probation, 30 days credit for time served, 15 days for March 6, 2025, balance probation. ADET, stay away from the East Point Library located at 2757 Main Street in East Point, no firearms. The willful obstruction, 12 months concurrent with count 1, $300 fine. The state is going to delete the 40 hours in community service on this one since it is redundant of the second case. And then count 3, 12 months concurrent with count 1. The state does ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
So the state's asking for a total of $600 fine from both cases?
That is correct, but only one 40-hour community service.
Mr. White?
We stipulate, Your Honor, and just ask that you follow the state's recommendation.
Ms. Ward, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently? Ms. Ward? Kyla Ward? Okay. And have you understood what's going on in your cases?
Yeah,
Are you satisfied with your attorney services?
yeah,
And are you entering a plea to these 6 charges freely, willingly, and knowingly?
yeah,
Has it been explained to you that if you decide to take this plea offer, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial? You will not go back to court, not be able to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you. Your attorney will not be able to argue your defenses and any mitigating factors you may have. And the prosecution won't have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
yeah.
On position 53, case ending in 23 CR 4062F, how do you plead to reckless conduct and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer?
Yeah.
Your sentence on the reckless conduct is 12 months to serve 4 days, credit for time served 2 days. The rest of the time you'll be on probation. You will report to probation on Monday, March 24th, before 3 p.m. at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you will complete the following conditions. You will enroll in a behavioral health evaluation and submit to any treatment that's required. You'll be required to make an appointment for this evaluation within 45 days of being placed on probation. You can have contact with the minor child, FJ, in accordance with any rules, orders, or conditions set forth by the Department of Family and Children's Services. At all times, you're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. For the willful obstruction, it'll be 12 months concurrent with count 1, and you'll be required to pay a $300 fine and complete 40 hours of community service. And you must do the community service at any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school. And you must do a minimum of 5 hours per month.
Hold on, what does defense got to do with this?
I can't hear you. You may have to sit up closer to the computer.
What does defense got to do with this?
Mr. White, have you explained to her?
Judge, if we could briefly have a breakout, I can go over.
Okay. All right, and please explain to her also her fine obligations and community service.
Yeah,
All right, Francois, we're going to put AC/DC and Mr. White in a breakout while we go to courtroom 2. By the way, is Maureen McLeod back on Zoom by any chance?
I did speak with her, Judge. She said she'll be coming back within the next 30 minutes. So right
Okay.
now, yeah.
Understood. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position 43 through 50, Mr. Sumlin.
Mr. Bartel, have you conferred with Mr. Sumlin?
I have, Your Honor. I've explained his options. We've reviewed the state's offer, and We've decided to enter a not guilty plea, will waive arraignment and further notice, these cases.
All right, Mr. Desmond Sumlin has got three cases with us, 19 CR 2114C, 20 CR 5903C, and 20 CR 5906C. With regards to these three cases, Mr. Sumlin, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney has indicated that you are entering a not guilty plea. This will be a waiver of arraignment, and all three cases are going to be reset jail jury.
And thank you, Your Honor. Just to clarify, there's four substantive cases, I believe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, position 46, 22 CR 3250C. He's got a total of four cases and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 misdemeanor charges.
Right. I think there's an FTA on each case, so I'll send the waivers for those.
And you are right. There are 4 FTAs. So do you want me to list the case numbers?
I don't think that's necessary, Your Honor.
All right. All these cases are reset for jail jury. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. What's that?
I can take another case at courtroom 2 pending the return of Miss Ward.
That's all we have in the courtroom right now, Judge, till we get some more people.
Okay.
All right.
Right, so I guess we'll just be in a brief recess until Mr. White reappears. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bartel, are you still in courtroom 2? Mr. Paul Bartel, is he there by any chance?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm still here.
Position 25 through 31, Millen. Can you give me an update? I think we have a family member on Zoom.
Your Honor, I was advised yesterday when I went to see him that he had been moved and the system was not updated with his current location, and I think they're still trying to locate him.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
But do you need to speak with him then?
I do, Your Honor. I have not spoken with him.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Are you ready? It's 25
We're ready, Judge.
CR 00 1212 D as in David.
All right, Mr. White, how are we proceeding?
We're still going forward, Judge.
All right. As I was saying, for count one, reckless conduct, she can have contact with the minor child FJ in accordance with any defects orders, and she's not allowed to own or possess any firearms. On count two, the willful obstruction is going to be 12 months probation concurrent with count one, with a $300 fine and 40 hours of community service. In the other case, 25 CR 001183F, for allegations from March 4th, 2025. Ms. Ward, how do you plead to public drunk, willful obstruction of an officer, and criminal trespass? I can't hear you.
Say guilty.
Thank you. Your sentence for public drunk is going to be 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. Again, you'll be on probation. It's concurrent with the other case we just mentioned. You are still required to do the alcohol and drug evaluation. This is only required one time, so it applies to both cases. And you're required to stay away from the East Point Library at 2757 Main Street in East Point. No firearms. On the obstruction charge is 12 months concurrent with count one, with an additional $300 fine. So your total fine for both cases is going to be $600 plus your probation fees. Position three, criminal trespass, is 12 months concurrent with count one. Your probation fees shall be paid every month, and your $600 fine shall be paid at a minimum payment of $60 per month until the entire fine is paid off. I believe that concludes the sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm not sure. I guess we're waiting for the other cases to appear. And I know we have Ms. Crandall. Ms. McLeod is not on Zoom yet.
Judge, I do have a couple of announcements while we're waiting for Ms. McLeod.
I'm all ears. Please do, Ms. Deputy.
Position number 10, Colton, is released.
Okay, let's get to that. Thomas Colton is released, so that's going to be further notice for trial.
Also, Judge, for position 7 and 8, Clay, she was brought up and she spoke to Mr. Tom White, and she's no longer needed because she's pleading not guilty.
Mr. White, there'll be a waiver of arraignment?
That's correct, Judge.
All right, so 7 and 8 is a waiver of arraignment. She's not going to come back. That's going to be further notice for trial. Any else?
That's it, Judge.
All
And then
right, thank you.
McLeod.
Okay, while I'm waiting, position 1, Calvin 1, 2, and 3, Mr. Barber was released. So that's going to be a further notice for trial. Position 6. Hang on, what's going on with Blake? Oh, 4 and 5. Blake is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. Is Miss McLeod? Oh, Miss McLeod's back. Okay, going back to Crandall then. Miss
Your Honor, I
McLeod?
must apologize to the court for what happened earlier.
No, that's quite all right. Did you hear Miss Falk's argument against a bond modification?
I did, Your Honor.
All right. And did you have anything else to add?
No, the state had nothing else to add.
Ms. McLeod, did you have anything else to add?
I do not believe that the situation is so egregious. At one point, my client was homeless, and that accounts for the FTAs that the court, that the state mentioned. But she has a good address now, a good address for receiving her mail, which she has shared with me. So I believe that the FTAs will not be a problem going forward. I just wanted to say that.
I respectfully differ, Ms. McLeod. The allegations right now are criminal trespass and willful obstruction. I'm just wondering why it was not an accessory to a burglary or theft of these items from the Tahoe Apartments. And if she is living with her mother and coming, then I'm sure she has family support to bond her out. Based on these Ayala factors, the $1,000 bond is extremely reasonable, given the allegations and given her criminal record history. She's had a consistent history of being booked into the Fulton County Jail in 2023 and 2024. So she doesn't qualify for a signature bond at the present time, and given her multiple FTAs as well. So how would you like to proceed today? She's got an offer right now where she would need to serve additional time in jail, as well as a $300 fine.
Your Honor, we would not like to go ahead with the plea today. I know that if she is unable to bond out, she will come back on the SAP again in 2 weeks. So maybe at that time, if she's unable to bond out, we will reconsider it. But as it is, she would not be able to get out even if she took a plea today. So we feel that we should probably continue to work to see if there are other options for her to get a bond. For example, the bonding project, I've been trying to see if they will consider bonding her out.
The other option is I'm going to arraign the case today and further notice it for trial.
Yes, Your Honor, that was, I filed a waiver of arraignment on her
Okay,
behalf already.
you did. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
This case is not coming back on a SAP calendar in 2 weeks. So she will have to deal with her next proceeding before the division judge. And so this case is further notice for trial. Her bond remains at $1,000 surety, and stay away from the Roswell Creek Apartments. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Francois, we are concluded with Ms. Crandall. Then I can go back to, I don't see anyone else right now. Position 9, Antonio Cloud. I believe Mr. White, you still need to speak with him?
Your Honor, he was,
On the floor.
he was in dental yesterday when I tried to speak with him, so.
All right, so you still need to speak with him. Okay. Position 10, Colton was released. 11, Crandall is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. Position 12, Davis, we're still going to be addressing a plea for Mr. Davis. And Davis will, oh, then we have another Davis. So this is Michael James Davis, positions 13 and 14. He was released, and that's further notice for trial. Position 15, Doc, is going to be a plea. Still waiting on him. Position 16 and 17.
Your Honor, I heard from the private attorney on that case, Keith Cook, who entered an appearance.
He's not a private, he's with our office, and
Oh,
we'll be.
my apologies.
That's all right. We will be waiving that case and send a waiver, Judge.
All right, position 16 and 17 is a waiver arraignment and further notice for trial. Position 18, Mr. Shatai will need to speak with him, Flores Hernandez. Position 19, Hammond is released and further notice for trial. Position 20, Harold Harris. Did we took,
Yeah,
who is, that's Mr. Bartel?
that's my case. He'll be a negotiated plea, Your Honor. Mr.
All right, sir. All right, and I'm just going down the calendar and seeing what we have. Linda, thank you. 21, Richard Harris was a plea. 22, Roberto Lemus was a plea. 23, Mangum is going to be reset to April 3rd. Position 24, McClendon was a null pros. 25, Millen, Mr. Bartel still needs to, 25 through 31. Mr. Bartel still needs to speak with Mr. Millen. 32 is, and 33 is Miller, Mona Keisha Miller, and that's a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. 34, Moon was a plea. 35, Demonic Nance. That's Mr. Bartel. 36, Michael Oliphant is. Do we know whose conflict for that case?
I am, Your Honor.
You are? Okay. Any, do you know how you're proceeding, Ms. McLeod?
I did not see that there was an offer on that case. I've already filed arraignment into
Okay.
his case.
Ms. Falk, could you send Ms. McLeod the proposed offer? I see one listed on the calendar, and she will send it to you in the chat, Ms. McLeod.
Thank you.
37, Troy Ori was a plea. 38, Mark Prosper was a plea. 39, Stephen Richardson was a plea. 40 and 41, Akil Robertson was a plea. 42 is placed on the debt docket with a $5,000 signature bond to the jail.
Your Honor, on 42, state did send over a null pros.
Okay, so William Robinson is now a null pros.
And I CC Dennis Murphy, so he'll receive it as well.
All right, thank you, Ms. Falk.
I would need to speak to Mr. Oliphant to discuss the offer with him.
All
I
right,
don't know if he's available.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the jail to produce them, so I'm just going over the calendar to see what's left.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Positions 43 through 51. This is Kwame Terry, and these, through 50. Desmond Sumlin is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for jail jury. 51, Kwame Terry is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. 52 and 53 were a plea with Ms. Ward. 54 and 55 is reset to, this is Christopher Ware, reset to March 27. 56, Watson is yet to, Mr. White needs to speak with him. That's position.
Your Honor, I've spoken with him. It's going to be a waiver.
All right, Watson, 56 is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. And 57 through 60, and that's Mr. Bartels, and that's going to be a possible plea. That's Ms. Shea Wilson. Did we do a? I think we already did the plea in that one. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Shea
we did.
Wilson has already been completed. That was a plea. And this is all the way through position 60. Okay. Daryl Wimbush, position 61 is released and further notice for trial. Position 62, Rodriguez Yancey is released and further notice for trial. And position 63 is a possible plea with Mr. Bartel. All right, so Mr. White has one case, position 9. Mr. Chate, you have 3 cases, positions 12, 15, and 18. Ms. McLeod, you have position 36. And Mr. Bartel has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clients. Okay. All right. Miss Courtroom 2, we have additional folks who were just brought in?
Yes.
Okay,
Doc, position number 15.
okay.
This is a negotiated plea, Judge Law.
All right, thank you, sir. This is an announcement for everyone who was just brought into the courtroom. Good morning. My name is Judge Lal. We are going to be addressing each of your cases on a one-on-one basis. And your attorney will let me know how you would like to proceed with your case today. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one of our defense counsels from the Public Defender's Office or Conflict Defense List will be representing you. State versus Andre Lamar Dock is accused of criminal trespass and failure to keep drugs in its original container. Case number 25 CR 1207B. Mr. Dock, you've been advised of your rights. Yes, Ms. Wright, you're free to go. Connie Wright, you're free to go. Mr. Dock, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Ma'am.
Ms. Folk, what's the recommendation for Mr. Dock?
State's recommendation on position 15, Your Honor, on the criminal trespass is 12 months served, 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. That's from March 6, 2025 to today. Balance probated, stay away from all GSU property in accordance with 23 SC 190730, an anti-theft course and 40 hours of community service. Position 2, drugs not in original container is 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. That's all for the state does ask the defense to stipulate to venue, identification, and factual basis for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
Mr. Chate, your client understands that he has 31 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail before he can be released, and then he'll be placed on probation to complete these classes and community service. Does he understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, he understands. I stipulate and also ask the court to consider having him placed on non-reporting status once he completes the terms.
Okay.
If he completes all the conditions within 6 months, I will consider placing him on non-reporting probation. Otherwise, if it takes longer than 6 months, then he'll be on non-reporting after he's completed all the conditions and is up to date with his probation fees. But it'll be a minimum of 6 months on probation.
Yes, Judge.
Is that acceptable?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Dock, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood what's going on in this case?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
If you decide to plead guilty to this case, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not have the opportunity to go back to court, to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, present your defenses and arguments, and the state won't have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes.
How do you plead to criminal trespass at GSU property and failure to keep drugs in its original container?
Guilty.
I'm sorry, sir. What did you say?
Guilty.
I accept your guilty plea. On count 1, it's going to be 12 months to serve 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. You have 31 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once you have completed the 31 days, you'll be released unless you have any other holds. But upon your release, you're to immediately report to Fulton County Probation on the first available Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, but definitely within 48 hours. While you're on probation, you will complete an anti-theft class and complete 40 hours of community service. You must complete the community service at a minimum of 5 hours per month. On count 2, the sentence will be to serve 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. So once you've completed the 31 days, then you would have completed your sentence for count 2. You must serve on probation for a minimum period of 6 months. And if you complete all your conditions and you have paid up all your probation fees, then your probation will be non-reporting after 6 months. However, if you are still completing your conditions after 6 months, then it will be non-reporting as long as your conditions are completed and your probation fees are up to date. At all times, whether you are on active or non-reporting probation, you must stay away from all Georgia State University property. Thank you.
Position number 12, Davis.
Yeah.
Dustin Davis is accused of criminal trespass from March 17th of last year, case number 25 CR 001228J. Mr. Davis, you've been advised of your right. Your attorney is Mr. Chate. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. On position number 12, Mr. Davis, for the criminal trespass, the recommendation is 12 months served 30 days, credit for time served. Let me just adjust that. 12 months served 28 days, credit for time served 14 days, balance suspended, stay away from the Racial Justice Action Center. That is located at 2861 East Point Street in East Point, and we are asking for a social worker visit prior to his release for supportive services. The state asks the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
Mr. Chate, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and does your client accept these terms?
I stipulated and he accepts the terms.
Okay. And have you all made arrangements for a social worker visit before, because that will hold up his release?
And Your Honor, I can get in touch with the social worker now, but we don't have a social worker in this room, so I can see if the social worker could come to the jail today.
Okay. As long as you can make sure that he's at least seen by a social worker before to arrange for, or to at least get some advice on resources available out there. That once that's checked off. Oh, Ms. Kasha is there. Ms. Kasha, can he be seen today before he's released? Because he'll be released within 24 hours.
Actually call to the courtroom and see if I can get some information to him.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. So, Mr. Davis, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood what's going on?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to face your accuser in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to challenge the evidence presented against you, to be able to present your defenses and arguments through counsel, and also have the state prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass at the Racial Justice Action Center in East Point?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served for, repeat. Your sentence is 12 months to serve 28 days, credit for time served 14 days, balance suspended. You'll be seen by a social worker, and then if it's all completed before court ends today, then you should be released within 24 hours. At all times, you are required to stay away from that location at 2861 East Point Street in East Point, Georgia. If you go back to that location, you will be arrested again. Thank you.
Position number 63, Young.
I'll make sure the social worker sees you.
Okay. Hello. How are you doing?
Hello. Fine. Mr. Bartel, how are we proceeding with Mr. Young?
This is a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right. This is State versus Stephen Young, case number 25 CR 1164C. Mr. Young has got 2 counts of criminal trespass from March 5th, 2025. And we are proceeding just with count 1 pursuant to the plea, as count 2 will merge into count 1. Mr. Young, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Bartel. May I place you under oath for the plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. State's recommendation on count one is 12 months served 32 days, credit for time served 16 days. That is going to be from March 5th, 2025 until today. Balance suspended. Stay away from 2740 Greenbrier Parkway Southwest in Atlanta. Count two, criminal trespass, will merge with count one. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
We do so stipulate for the purposes of the plea, Your Honor.
Mr. Young, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to count one, you will have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge evidence brought against you, present your defenses and arguments, and the state won't have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm sorry.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance suspended. You are to stay away from 2740 Greenbrier Parkway in Southwest Atlanta. If you return to that location, you will be arrested again.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Thank you.
It's cool. I was just making sure that they're gonna be here.
Position number 9, Mr. Cloud.
Thank you.
We don't have to keep them.
Is this Mr. Oliphant?
This is Mr. Cloud. I think it's Mr. White's client.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
This is McLeod. I thought it was McLeod.
Okay. No. This is State versus Antonio Cloud, case 25 CR 1204F. Mr. Cloud, you've been accused of criminal trespass from March 6th of this year. You've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. Tom White. And may I place you under oath for the plea? Other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? You just speak up, folks.
Ma'am.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Thank you. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. This recommendation on the criminal trespass is 12 months served 60 days, credit for time served 14 days. That's from March 6, 2025. Balance probated. No further contact with Saphir Monroe. Stay away from the address at 1294 Sweetbriar Circle in East Point, as well as MHET. We did have a conversation with Mr. Monroe. He does not agree with the plea because he believes this should be upgraded to a felony. Burglary in particular, since the defendant did enter his home. Will say that the Mr. Monroe should be Zoom according to him, so we would like to sound for him. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea.
Okay. Saphir Monroe, if you on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video.
And Your Honor, I do not see him here in court, but I just wanted to sound out of an abundance of caution.
Okay. Mr. White, does your client accept the terms, understanding that he has an additional 16 days to serve at the jail, and then he'll be placed on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you so stipulate?
We do.
Mr. Cloud, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
Yes, ma'am.
You look confused. Do you have any questions about your sentence if you decide to plead guilty?
Yes, ma'am. I just was wondering, I did discuss it with him, but I don't understand why would I have to serve an additional 16 days and be placed on probation? That's all I'm wondering.
Okay. Courtroom 2, let's put Mr. Cloud on the side, and Mr. White, the jail will call you, or you call the jail?
There's no need for that. I explained to him that that's what the offer was, that the state is unlikely to move, and he said he wanted to go forward. He said that he doesn't understand why they're asking for that time.
Oh, okay. All right, understood. Mr. Cloud, please listen to the prosecutor very carefully. Ms. Falk, I'm sorry, could you repeat the reasons why you're seeking an additional 16 days in jail based on what the victim has said to you?
Yes, Your Honor. So according to the victim, he said, and I will say that this was not in the report, that the defendant had begun unplugging lamps in Mr. Monroe's house when Mr. Monroe encountered him. And so he believed that this case should have been treated as a felony instead of a misdemeanor criminal trespass. In addition, Mr. Monroe, and I can pull this up, has, I believe, a bit of a history, which is why we also recommend, Mr. Cloud, excuse me, has a bit of a history, which is why we also recommended this additional jail time. Let's see. And the fact that he did enter a residence that was currently occupied by a victim, which gives the state some concern outside of a normal criminal trespass on a business or at a vacated location. He does have a theft by receiving from 2004 where he received 2 years confinement. He also has an aggravated assault from 2006 where he received a 10 serve 2. And let's see, that was dead docketed. He then had an aggravated assault in 2011 where he received a 5 serve 1 sentence, and a theft where he received in 2012. He has a number of probation violations and a failure to appear. And his most recent conviction was, it looks like a 2018-2019 theft is that would potentially support more, but because it's not clear that there was a burglary in progress, the state did not attempt to upgrade this to a felony.
All right. Now, do you understand, Mr. Cloud?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you still like to move forward with this plea? Otherwise, you have a right to demand a trial, and the case will be reset for a trial.
I'd like to move forward.
Okay. As I was saying, so are you now aware of what's going on in your case?
I am.
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this trespass charge, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to face your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you. Your attorney will not get the opportunity to present your defenses and arguments, and the prosecutor won't have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 14 days. You have to serve an additional 16 whole days at the Fulton County Jail. If you have no other cases holding you in jail, then you will be released, but you must report to Fulton County Probation, and you'll be on probation for the rest of the 12 months. You will report to probation once a month. At all times while you're on probation, you are to stay 200 yards away from 1294 Sweetbriar Circle in East Point, Georgia, and you are to have no contact with Saphir Monroe. You're to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. Within 30 days of being on probation, you will enroll and get an appointment for mental health evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment and medication or counseling. While you're on probation, you shall be compliant with all treatment, counseling, and medication that is prescribed to you. You will report every month until the rest of the 12 months are completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Petition number 18, Flores Hernandez. Oh, okay, all that time this you don't know.
Mr. Chate, are we ready to proceed with position 18?
No, Your Honor, I need to speak with him.
Okay. Do we have any other cases in courtroom 2?
We can do Mr. Harold Harris. Mr. Bartel's client.
All right, that's position 20.
How you doing, y'all?
Fine, thank you, sir. This is Mr. Harris Harold, accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of an officer, case 25 CR 1215C from March 7th, 2025. Mr. Harold, you've been advised of your rights to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Bartel. And this will be a plea.
That's correct, Your Honor. It's a negotiated plea.
Is his first name Harris or is that his?
Harold Harris.
Yes. I think the jail has his names transposed, Your Honor. His first
All right.
name is Harold and last name is Harris.
Okay, so Mr. Harris, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. On count 1, criminal trespass, 12 months served, 26 days, credit for time served, 13 days, from March 7th, 2025 until today. Balance suspended, stay away from all MARTA. He currently has a 365-day ban, January 1st, 2026. 2, the obstruction of officers is going to be time served. He spent 1 day in jail on that case. The state would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea. That's all for the state.
We would so stipulate for the purposes of the plea. And Ms. Falk, with the 1 day on the obstruction, did he get a signature bond on that or something?
He did. He got a split bond signature on the willful obstruction surety on the criminal trespass. That's why he's only getting 1 day credit for time served on the willful obstruction.
Okay. So, yeah, nothing further, Your Honor. We would just ask the court to accept the agreement. No.
Mr. Harris, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, could you speak up?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you aware of what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand that you have a ban from all MARTA property until next year,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
okay? And are you entering this plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes, ma'am.
So you understand that you have to give up your right to a trial, to face your accuser, get to challenge the evidence presented in a court of law, and the state won't have to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
ma'am.
Repeat?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
He's a soft-spoken man, Your Honor.
That's fine, except that my court reporter needs to be able to hear him as well. So, Mr. Harris, how do you plead to criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer?
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
On the trespass, your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance suspended. You are to stay away from all MARTA property that include.
Yes, ma'am. I'm listening.
What did I last say?
To stay away from Mark.
From all MARTA property, which includes the buses, the trains, the bus station, the train station, the bathrooms, the parking lots, and the sidewalks. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just the buses and trains, including the stations.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you can only return to a MARTA property on January 2nd, 2026, which is next year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and on count 2, obstruction, it will be to serve 1 day, credit for time served 1 day. That concludes the plea.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna go to number 18, Mr. Flores Hernandez.
Mr. Chate, how are we proceeding?
The negotiated plea, Judge.
All right. This is State versus Maximo Flores Hernandez, case number 25 CR 1209D. Mr. Flores Hernandez is accused of theft by taking from February 26, 2025. Mr. Flores Hernandez, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Shatay. May I place you under oath for the plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation on this case for the theft by taking is 12 months served 90 days. Credit for time served 14 days from February 26, 2025 to today. Balance probated in anti-theft course. Stay away from 3579 South Fulton Avenue in Hateville. No further contact with Datie, D-A-T-I-E, Priest. If we could please sound for Ms. Priest if she is here in the courtroom today and would like to speak. And we do ask the defense to stipulate to venue factual basis and identification for the purposes of the plea.
Datie Priest? I don't see anyone by that name, or I don't see an unidentified Zoom panel. All right. Anything else, Ms. Folk?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Shatay, does your client accept the terms, and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
He accepts the terms and I stipulate.
Mr. Flores Hernandez, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood what's going on in your case?
No.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to a courtroom to face your accuser, to be able to challenge the evidence brought against you, present your own arguments and defenses, and the state will not have to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of theft by taking?
Guilty, ma'am.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 90 days, credit for time served 14 days. You have an additional 31 days to serve at the Fulton County Jail. Once you have served the additional time, and if you have no other holds, you should be released, and you must report to Fulton County Probation within 48 hours on the first available Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. While on probation, you will complete an anti-theft class, and you must complete the class within the first 120 days of probation. At all times, you are to have no contact with Datie Priest and stay away from 3579 South Fulton Avenue in Hateville, Georgia. That concludes your sentence. Mr. Shatay, does he still have a hold in that 21 SC case?
Yes, Your Honor. According to my notes, he's still in custody on some other cases. So I was wondering if we could have him report to probation when he gets out on those, or.
Yeah, he'll start probation within 48 hours, subject to any hold. So probation only begins once he's released.
So,
What's your?
just
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Hold on.
Mr. White, I believe that was your last case. You're free to go if you wish to. We'll be
Thank you.
sorry. All
Thank
right.
you, Judge. I'll stick around for a little longer, just make sure.
Okay. And Mr. Bartel still has 3 clients, and we're still waiting on position 36.
All right, my client just had a question about when probation would start. Your Honor, I answered it for him, and we're moving forward.
All right. Thank you. That concludes this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forum 2, do we have any of Mr. Bartel's clients ready, or Ms. McLeod's by any chance? Michael Oliphant?
I still need to speak with him, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, Deputy, what were you saying?
There the annex did not bring Mr. Michael Old thing. So let me call back over there to see what's going on.
Sorry.
But Mr. Bartel, he's ready.
Yeah, Your Honor, just to let the court know, There's a couple of clients here that are on the 11 o'clock calendar. I believe that they're able to enter a plea and that's what they'd like to do. And Ms. Falk and I have agreed on what the recommended sentence would be.
All right, if they're entering a plea, then I guess competency is not an issue anymore. And
I believe
we
it is.
we can address that in open court.
I believe so, yeah.
Which position are in a plea?
Yeah. Could you let us know as soon as you're ready, which position numbers from the 11 a.m. calendar are going to be addressed as please?
Yes, Your Honor. One of them is Mr. Lowe, David Lowe. He is number 10 on the 11 a.m. calendar. And then Mr. Williams, Ricky Williams, who is number 12.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor, may I ask a question?
You need to put your video on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what's your name, please?
My name is Shamika Smith. I'm the mother of Kentavious Miller.
Millen.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's 25. Yeah, he hasn't been brought to the courtroom yet, so we're not addressing that case yet.
Okay, I thought I heard you mention earlier that you all couldn't locate him because he was moved to a different.
That's all the information I have, Ms. Shamika.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Please mute your screen.
Nine seven six 0365 8671. And head code is 893-224. Yes, sir, and his position number is number 36. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. For Mr. Oliphant, they getting ready to log on for him now over at the Marietta Annex location, so stand by, please.
Okay. Ms. McLeod, Mr. Oliphant will be logging on from a different area of the jail, so please stand by.
John.
All right. Ms. McLeod, is that your client? Michael Oliphant, I can put you into a breakout.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Deputy at Marietta Annex, you will get a message to join a breakout room with Defense Counsel Maureen McLeod. I think it's Miss Grace. Can you go ahead and put Marietta Annex?
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing it now.
Thank you. Mr. Bartel, while we are waiting, would we be able to do the 11 a.m. calendar? We can do it in a breakout from your device.
We can actually do that right now. The only clients here in the courtroom are Mr. Lowe and
Williams.
Mr. Williams, who are on the 11 a.m. calendar.
Okay.
And my internet connection here is very spotty, Your Honor. It's off and on all day.
Okay. Ms. Falk, are you available? All right. And Ms. Kasha, you can take your video on too, please. All right. Ms. Grace, could you place courtroom 2, myself, Ms. Shelley Falk, and Ms. Kasha into a separate breakout, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Kasha, are you there? Okay.
Yes, sometimes. Sometimes it helps.
Yeah. So Mr. Davis on the way or? Oh, you called him already? You called already? Oh, the officer. Okay, thank you.
Kasha,
Yes,
okay. Judge called you earlier and I don't know. So you want to go in, correct?
yes, please.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I stepped away for just a second.
no problem.
All right. Ms. McLeod, are we ready to address your client, Mr. Oliphant?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm ready.
All right.
Trying to put my camera on it.
That's it.
It's coming off and going down. Yes, Your Honor.
This is
So
state.
my client will not be accepting the state's plea offer, so we need to be noticed to the next available trial calendar.
All right. And are you filing a waiver of arraignment, or would you
Yes,
like me
ma'am.
to?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I don't know if the ma'am came out of my mouth.
That's all right, no problem. Mr. Michael Oliphant, case number 25 CR 001161G, accused of disorderly conduct and simple battery. Mr. Oliphant, your attorney, Ms. McLeod, is entering a not guilty plea on your behalf, and the case will be further noticed for jail jury. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod. You have a
You're
good day.
welcome. You too.
Thank you. Thank you, Marietta Annex. You're free to go. Thank you. All right. Mr. Bartel, that leaves us with your three clients on the SAP calendar and the two clients on the 11 a.m. calendar.
Okay, yeah, Your Honor, we have my two clients from the from the 11 a.m. calendar. I think we've handled all of my cases from the SAP calendar, except for Mr. Millen. I think the deputies are still looking for him.
Okay. Well, you have,
Yeah, I will say.
Millen is 25 through 31, and
Yeah.
then you have position 35, which is, Nance.
Yeah, I think, Your Honor, I've communicated with Ms. Falk. I think he would be appropriate to refer to the MMHC. I've explained that program to him. I think he would qualify as far as I know. And Ms. Falk, I sent a chat, I think in the chat in the Zoom chat, it may have gotten erased with our connectivity problems. But if everybody's okay with on 35, I would ask for a reset to the MMHC jail calendar on the 27th for them to look at his case for that.
Any objection from the state?
I haven't had a chance to look at it, but if I do object, I will let PD Bartels and Ms. Corley know.
All right. I'm going to reset it to the MHC jail calendar. What date was that? 27th?
27th, Your Honor.
Okay. And if they reject them, then he'll be back on the SAP SAP calendar.
Right.
Okay. So that's for position 35, Mr. Nance. What about Mr. Wilson, position 57 to 60?
He was a plea, Your Honor.
Okay, so what, did we take the plea?
We did.
We did? Okay, so that's done. I just didn't check it off, sorry. And so we're still looking for Mr. Millen. So let's start with either Mr. Lowe or
Yeah, Mr.
which
Lowe.
one would you like to do first?
We'll do Mr. Lowe, Your Honor. And
All right.
Mr. Millen, Your Honor, I will say that the state's offer on one of his cases did include a little bit of extra time. So, I mean, if he's not located, he'll just have to be reset for Tuesday.
All right, let's see, once we're done with these two, please, how far we get, and then we may have to consider that. This is State versus David Lowe, case number 25 CR 1242B, accused of theft by taking from March 6, 2025. Mr. Lowe, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Bartel. May I place you under oath for the purposes of the plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Falk, is there a recommendation?
Yes, there is, Your Honor. On Mr. Lowe's case, he was charged with one count of theft by taking misdemeanor. The state's recommendation is 12 months served 60 days, credit for time served 11 days, from March 6, 2025 until today, balance probated, stay away from 637 Prior Street Southwest, no further contact with Garika Greer in an anti-theft course. We do sound for Garika Greer and would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of the plea.
We will so stipulate for purposes of the plea.
Okay, Barika Greer. All right. Mr. Lowe, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with Mr. Bartel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you will have to give up your right to a trial. You will not have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront the person accusing you of this crime. You will not be able to present your defenses and arguments. And the state, the prosecutor, won't have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to theft by taking?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 11 days. You have 15, I think 19 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail.
That's correct, Judge. I've advised him that.
All right. So you have 19 more days before you can be released. After you are released, you will report to Fulton County Probation. While on probation, you need to complete an anti-theft class. At all times, you're required to stay away from 637 Prior Street in Southwest Atlanta and have no contact with Barika Greer. If you complete the anti-theft class and you don't get arrested again, and your probation fees are up to date, your probation will be non-reporting. Thank you.
And Your Honor, we would ask if the court would waive the first month of probation fee.
I'll waive probation fees for March and April.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I advised him if he can get the theft course done, he won't have to report after that.
And like I said, yeah, as soon as he's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next matter is with Ricky Williams. This is State versus Ricky Williams, case 25 CR 1226B, accused of criminal trespass from March 7, 2025. Mr. Williams, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartel. May I place you under oath for the plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Falk? Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation on the criminal trespass is 12 months served 26 days. Credit for time served 13 days. That is going to be from March 7th, 2025 until today. Balance suspended. Stay away from all MARTA in accordance with the permanent ban that has been assessed on him, and social work release for supportive services. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of this plea.
We do so stipulate for the plea, Your Honor. I did talk with Mr. Williams. He indicates that he does have a place to stay and is currently receiving services. Is it Grady?
Great.
Yeah, so
SSI in about a year.
okay, so and they are helping him apply for SSI. So I'm not sure that a social worker visit is necessary, but we are in agreement with the other terms, so that would be up to the discretion of the court.
Ms. Kasha, is there anything else that you can determine other than what Mr. Bartel has told us?
Yes, we have actually spoken to Mr. Williams when he first came in. So he wouldn't be in need of us, but there's nothing else at this time, Your Honor. His treatment, and if he follows up with Grady, they'll get him on the right path in terms of housing and his treatment.
Ms. Falk, may I dispense with the social worker visit then? Looks like they've already done their due diligence in that area.
That is fine, Your Honor. And I'm just letting you know, I'm turning off my camera to kind of hold my bandwidth because my connection was getting a little shaky.
Understood. Okay.
We're all having problems with that.
Oh dear. All right, let's see. Mr. Williams, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with Mr. Bartel?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not go back to a courtroom to face those accusing you of this charge, to be able to present your defenses and arguments, and the prosecutor won't have to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I understand that you are being diligent about getting Grady services and trying to make sure you stay out of trouble. But one of the ways to get into trouble is by going back to a MARTA property. You cannot go back to any MARTA property.
Yes, ma'am.
No buses, no trains. You cannot be at a MARTA station. You cannot be at a bus station. For life.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a permanent ban.
Yes, ma'am.
You still have to continue staying away from all that property. Do you understand?
Ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
You.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance suspended. As you agreed, stay away from all MARTA property for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Can we confirm whether Mr. Millen is in the courtroom or whether he's still MIA?
He just came in, Your Honor. I'll just need a minute to talk with him.
All right, thank you.
In the meantime, Your Honor, I have a matter I need to bring up with the court.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shate, could you place courtroom 2 on mute, please? Thank you.
Your Honor, I think Mr. Shate was trying to explain to you that I spoke with Mr. Davis on the calendar already. There was a stipulation in place for him to speak with the social worker to provide resources for housing, and I've spoken to Mr. Davis already.
Okay, then let's consider the social worker visit checked off and he can be released within 24 hours. I can't remember whether he had to report to probation or whether it was balance suspended. All right, then he's done. Thank you. Good luck, Mr.
Davis, thank you.
Davis. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shate, I thought you were asking to run away, so.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, take care.
So this is what's called state on purpose. Now you've got, actually there are.
Miss Grace, go ahead and mute courtroom 2. Thank you. All right, Mr. Bartel, be ready? Okay, hang on, let me get to the right page. This is Mr. Millen, position 25 through 31. We had someone who was waiting for this case. Ms. Shamika, are you still on Zoom? I do see you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Contavious Millen, his positions 25, 26, 27, and 28 and 29. Positions 27, 28, and 29 are bench warrants, 25 FTA 0515, 521, and 522. The underlying cases, Mr. Millen has 25 CR 549J for willful obstruction of an officer from February 2nd, 2025. He's got a second case, 25 CR 1218J from March 6, 2025 for criminal trespass and obstruction. So,
We also have 30 and 31, Your Honor.
oh, and 30 and 31, let's go there. And position 30, Contavious Millen, case 22 CR 24J for loitering and prowling, and another criminal trespass charge in 22 CR 4015J from June 12th, 2022. So that appears to be 4 cases and 3 bench warrants.
That's my understanding, Judge.
Okay, and how are we proceeding, Mr. Millen? You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and Mr. Bartel is representing you. So, yes, how are we proceeding?
It's going to be a negotiated plea. The state has made offers in all 4 cases. And Ms. Falk, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like he's time served, or there's no additional time except for number 26, where the offer is 60 days. He's already served 14 days. So I've advised him that he would serve 16 more days. And then 30 and 31 are suspended. Just there's a stay away, no contact on those. And there is a fine community service and behavioral health evaluation in treatment on 25 and 26. So he would be on probation for those after he serves 16 more days. That's our understanding.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yeah, it helps to have like a flow chart to look at all these cases sometimes.
Basically, after 16 days, he will be on probation for 2 cases. And the bench warrants will be dismissed and the 2 other cases will be done.
That's my understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Okay. And so, Mr. Millen, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Before we proceed, Ms. Falk, Ms. Shamika, if you want to unmute and start your video.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What's your relationship to this defendant, Contavious Millen?
I'm his mother.
Okay. And you understand that based on the state's representation, he has 16 more days to serve at the Fulton County Jail, after which he'll be released and placed on probation to complete certain conditions.
Yes. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Is one of those condition mental health treatment?
He needs to enroll for a behavioral health evaluation and submit himself to any treatment. So he will need to go and get the treatment himself.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
No, ma'am. That was my main concern because Contavious caught all these charges during an episode.
All right. So I just want to make sure that you understand that he'll be released on probation. He'll be required to do these conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Ms. Falk, what is the recommendation? You don't need your video on, if there's a bandwidth issue.
It is, Your Honor. The state's recommendation in these cases is on the first position, which would be position 25 on the willful obstruction, 12 months serve 18 days, credit for time served 9 days from February 3rd, 2025 until I believe he was released on that case 8 days later. Balance probated, $300 fine, 40 hours of community service, and a BHET. Position number 26, the criminal trespass, is 12 months served 60 days, credit for time served 14 days. That's from March 6, 2025 until today. Stay away from the racetrack at 3503 Camp Creek Parkway in East Point. On the willful obstruction, 12 months concurrent with count 1, a $300 fine. Positions number 27 and 28 will be null prost upon the 27, 28, 29 will be null prost upon the taking of these pleas. Position number 30, the loitering and prowling, 12 months serve 140 days, credit for time served 70 days, balance suspended. Stay away from 780 Magnolia Way in Atlanta. And position number 31, the criminal trespass, 12 months serve 86 days, credit for time served 43 days, balance suspended. Stay away from 643 Martin Luther King Drive in Atlanta. No further contact with Jerome Rowland. All of those will run concurrent with one another. We do ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for the purposes of this plea. We would like to sound for Mr. Jerome Rowland at this time, if he is here and present in court. That's all for the state.
Jerome Rowland is not present, all right? Mr. Bartel, does your client stipulate to all the factual basis, venue, and ID for the 3 cases? 4 cases, sorry.
Right, we do so stipulate for the purposes of pleas on these cases, Your Honor. It looks like there is a total of $300 or $600 fine on the cases. He has indicated to me that he hasn't been employed since September. So we would just ask that he had the option of doing 60 hours of community service to fulfill that. And he also understands there's also 40 hours on case number 25. And that's all from defense.
On the position 25, I will amend the fine to 30 hours of community service. So he will have a total of 70 hours of community service, but he'll need to pay the fine for position 26.
Okay, all right, thank you, Judge. Okay.
And he needs to stay away from multiple places. And if he continues on this track, eventually he'll end up being a recluse. So he'll need to be careful that he stays away from these locations. Mr. Millen, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in all 7 cases?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you see your mother on the Zoom and how concerned she is about you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so do you make a pledge to be compliant with treatment and the requirements of your sentence so that you can live a better life?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you happy with your attorney in the meantime?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea and plead guilty to all these charges, you will have a very long criminal record history. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that doesn't look good if you get arrested again in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter this guilty plea, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to face your accusers, to challenge the evidence that will be brought against you, to be able to present your arguments and defenses, and the prosecutor won't have to carry her burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer on position 25? Repeat.
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 18 days, credit for time served 9 days, balance probated. You will complete 70 hours of community service, and within 15 days of being released, you must go to a healthcare provider and undergo a behavioral health evaluation and submit yourself to all treatment, counseling, and medication. And you are to be compliant with all treatment, counseling, and medication. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
The 70 hours of community service must be done at any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school, but it must be a nonprofit agency. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to say, could you put the information in, release?
It will be in the documents, and if you have any questions, you can call the Public Defender's Office or ask your probation officer.
Okay, thank you.
You must do your community service at a minimum rate of 10 hours per month. So every month, you must have completed at least 10 hours of community service, which is about 2 to 3 hours every weekend.
Okay.
On position 26, how do you plead to criminal trespass and willful obstruction of an officer?
Guilty.
Your sentence on the trespass is 12 months to serve 60 days, credit for time served 14 days. And for this case, you have an additional 16 whole days to serve at the jail before you are released on probation. Once you're released, you must report to probation within 48 hours, and you report on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday before 3 p.m. While on probation, you are to stay away from the racetrack gas station at 3503 Camp Creek Parkway in East Point, Georgia. And for the obstruction, you are to pay a $300 fine. You must pay the $300 fine at a minimum rate of $30 per month. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You got to get cracking on getting a job as soon as you're released. Positions 27, 28, and 29 are null pros. Position 30, how do you plead to loitering and prowling from January 2nd, 2022?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 140 days, credit for time served 70 days, balance suspended. You're to stay away from 780 Magnolia Way in Atlanta, Georgia. Position 31, how do you plead to criminal trespass from June 12th, 2022?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 86 days, credit for time served 43 days, balance suspended. You're to stay away from 643 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, and have no contact with Jerome Rowland. That concludes your sentences. That concludes your cases, and you'll be released to probation after 16 days. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Thank
And
you,
your-
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I
Judge.
sent over the I sent over the no props orders for the FTAs on this case and on McClendon, so Ms. Champion should have those. I also wanted to give PD Bartels and yourself a heads up. I talked to our victim advocate, has already spoken with Ms. Harris, Charlotte Harris, on the Wright case.
Oh,
and
that's
she is
right.
in agreement. And she is in agreement with the conditions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, folks, thank you very much. Unless there are any questions, this session is concluded.
I do have a question for the public defender. Everyone who's gonna handle Kentavious case, I was just wondering if I could have their name and contact information.
No, we do not give out that information, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
You done?